Okay, I've got on air. Welcome, everybody. We have, as people have noted, a full house today. All 11 of us are here, so that's definitely a quorum, and I call this meeting to order. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance.
Slide that over to you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Okay, upcoming meetings, a little bit of a change in our normal rotation, so take a note that the curriculum committee is meeting at 5:30 on October 11th, finance committee at 6:30, and that's in central office. On October 18th, the personnel committee and the school board workshop will be in the Great New Gloucester High School Library, starting at 5:30 and 6:30 respectively. And then on the 25th, we'll have a policy committee meeting at 5:30 in the high school library. Please do join us for that. Okay, are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda that I should know about? Go ahead, Fran.
I'd like to consider allowing public comment to be increased to 3 minutes. And I'd like to discuss that as an addition to the agenda.
Okay, we are actually, at the last policy committee meeting, we did a first reading of the public comment policy. And would it be okay to just go through that process? Because we actually talked about doing that very thing, and we should have a recommendation from the policy committee next month.
Oh. Okay, you're gonna be doing that, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I can wait.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Any comments from the audience? Floor is yours. No? All right. Seeing none, I'll keep going. Can I hear a motion on the minutes from the September 6th meeting?
I move to accept as printed the minutes of the September 6th, 2023 regular business meeting.
Second?
All right. Any discussion on that? Anybody see anything? All right. Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. All right. Let's start out with the recognition. Craig.
Yes. Got some impressive recognition tonight. Two New Gloucester students, two Great New Gloucester High School students, Kylie Thibodeau and Caitlin Sweeney, have received commendation awards from the National Merit Scholars Program. Students who receive the commendation award are among the top 3 to 5% of scores nationally on the preliminary scholastic aptitude test in their junior year of high school. So it's a very impressive achievement for the National Merit Program, something that will have admissions officers in colleges and universities certainly flag their application, and shows that we have some high achieving students in this school.
Mm-hmm. She's also, at least one of them, I'm sure Caitlin is too, but Kylie was just in my foursome at the senior scramble that I just got done with for the golf team. So I just got to spend 2 hours with Kylie, lovely young woman. There was another recognition. You had something, Gary, that you came across in your travels?
I'm actually glad she's here. I just wanted to take a minute to point out, in case anybody wasn't aware, of the enormous amount of additional work that Chanda has done this last couple weeks. Don't know if all of you are aware, but on Friday is Professional Development Day, and it's not just ours, it's kind of the Greater Sebago Education Alliance wide, and there's a cooperative thing going on where school members are going to each other's schools. We're hosting one of the groups, Wyndham's hosting one.
Just us.
I'm gonna get it wrong. No, who's got the phys ed one? Massabesic has a group, and it was a huge undertaking by the curriculum folk and Chanda, from what I understand in particular. So I just want to make sure that recognition is given to those who stick their necks out and do extra work. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary. It's great to see Great New Gloucester in a leadership position in the SEA,
Yes.
for sure. All right, let's get into, I don't see any old business on the agenda, so let's get into new business. We have a teacher to hire.
Yes, I'd like to welcome, sorry.
Let's do the motion in a second. Hold on a second.
It's only been 11 years.
I move to approve Jody Smith to a first probationary contract, K through 12 English language teacher, district-wide.
Second.
All right, now we could have an introduction.
Welcome Jody Smith.
Go to the little microphone.
Yeah. We're very happy to hire Jody Smith as our new EL teacher for the district. She's been with us a couple of weeks now, getting to know the district, getting to know the students, and in all 5 schools, a pretty big undertaking. She began her education at Bridgewater State University in Massachusetts, and she also has a master's degree in literacy from the University of Maine, and from Lesley University in Cambridge, and she has a certificate of advanced study in reading instruction from the University of Maine, and she's also been an adjunct professor at the Graduate School of Education at the University of Maine, teaching other students about reading instruction. She has been at the Lewiston School Department, serving as a reading recovery teacher, and she has also had 5 years as a multilingual teacher, and she has lived in Paraguay for several years as a Peace Corps volunteer, and she's fluent in Spanish. So we're very happy to have her.
Did Craig just oversell your Spanish abilities?
If I'm around people that I hear speaking Spanish, then I can speak more, but I understand quite a bit. But it's been a long time, almost 30 years that I was in the Peace Corps. So if you don't use it, you lose it.
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
Any thoughts or discussion? All right, all in favor?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you so much for joining the
Thank you.
district. We really appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
And as people remember, this is the English language learners position that we added in the budget. So I believe we are now full of all of the new positions that we added this year. So it's great to have that hiring done. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's move along to hear an update on the facilities data collection. Let's see, Craig.
Oh, okay. I think I may go up there to do this.
Okay. You got handouts?
I only made a limited number of hard copies just for the board.
They're lavender.
Yeah, I went downstairs to look at all the supplies. On the show.
We might have to share. I only got 4. Pass those down.
We have an extra one.
Penny and I could share this one.
You both got extra few.
Oh wait, here we got one more coming.
Two more.
There we go. Now we're
Stealing
cooking.
them all down there. Yep.
Keep 'em going.
Okay, does everyone have one?
Yep.
This is strategic.
Yeah, this is not,
Whoops, well, that's good.
This is the facilities one. Different handout.
Hang on to that one.
oh, this is,
Yes.
That one comes next.
passing out again, right?
Again, I made just a limited copy of these for the school board. Because
Guys.
Sam, can we have one more?
I thought I gave you 4, no?
You gave us 3.
Is there one more? Can I have one more?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Adam was home.
Never mind, Adam's hoggy. Let's see.
So, as you recall, we've had at our last
My glasses.
at our last school board meeting, we had talked about work on our buildings, our facilities, a bond project, and one of the things that we had talked about, I produced a document that I sort of plagiarized from the professional literature, which is sort of a document that you can use as a rubric to see which parts of your facilities you really need to look at to make some kind of accounting of the condition of your facilities, and to provide information that we can use as baseline information. What I did was I gathered about 7 people, each building principal, some people from facilities, the facility secretary. We did a deep dive in the file cabinets, and so what you have before you is information that we know is either 100% correct or we're pretty darn sure it's correct. And so this gives us some foundational information to know about our buildings. I'm not going to go into every single one, but we know which year every building was built. So if you look at the columns, the information is by school. There's a brief response. And the initials are the person that did the work. So our RB would be Richard Riley Benoit. He conducted research and he found out that the middle school was built in 1989. That's 100% accurate. And then the other way they could measure it was high degree of accuracy. So what you're not going to find in this document is, yeah, we know they built a roof, but was it in 72 or 78, and did they do the whole wing? Unless we could confirm to a very high degree the accuracy of the information, then we didn't put it in the document. And so if you look at the renovation history, Russell School, they built an outdoor classroom. That's 100% accurate. We absolutely know that. If you go further down, Memorial School in 1972, they built a cafeteria, a gym, a back wing, and an addition was built. That's to a high degree of accuracy. If you look at Memorial in 2006, 2007, a kindergarten wing was built. 100% degree of accuracy because it's in our file cabinets. We have the contract, the blueprints, the contractor reports. And so if you go throughout this document, you will find all the information that the lay people in our school district have been able to find about our buildings and facilities. What you'll also find is, so there are some areas where we know a lot. The information we know about our kitchens is meticulous. Every dishwasher, every hose, every trash smasher, every freezer, it's all been accounted for with meticulous records, so we know quite a bit about our cafeterias. Other pieces, like the electrical systems, we don't really have anyone on our staff that can really evaluate an electrical system. So that might be something that we have to hire out to say, hey, do an assessment of the quality of our electrical systems. So my thinking is, next steps might be, give this a good read, and then the facilities committee might make recommendations, something to the effect of, okay, this is really good. We know this much. The objective is this, is to have a pretty good idea of what we got so that we can inform our bond to make sure there isn't something lurking that we never knew about, and so I think that at the end of the process, you've got this baseline information. Facilities committee should think about what else do we really need to know about our facilities to make some good decisions about the upcoming budget, perhaps an upcoming bond, making 10-year projections, 20-year projections about what we want to know. Is it worthwhile to invest in an electrical engineering firm to come in and evaluate all 5 electrical systems? Does it make sense to do that or not? So I think I'd like the facilities committee to think about step 2 of the homework. What more could the lay people find that you think would be useful to you? And then, do we want certain aspects to have a much deeper dive? And I'm thinking namely the electrical systems might be an obvious one. We have a lot more information on our roofs than I thought we would have. And so I think it takes people to sit down with their readers and go through this and think about what the next steps would be. And it's now October 4. The facilities committee doesn't meet again until November 4. I don't know if I want to eat up a month with people just reading a document. Do we want to perhaps set up a shared drive where people could put their thoughts and maybe give us some direction on where to go? I don't know, but I'm open to suggestions on how you want to digest this report, this initial preliminary go-round, and then where you might like us to go directionally in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
All right, let's open it up to I don't want us to sit here and read this whole thing here, right? This is mostly Craig reporting that he has collected this research. But any just questions of clarification or anything, you're not understanding in terms of what you're seeing to make sure that you can digest it correctly? Any questions along those lines? Go ahead, Fran.
Did I miss the names of the people who were on the committee, or where they came from, or anything like that?
So there's no committee here. Craig, the names that are on here are just our administrators. So Craig had the administrators, the leaders of our buildings fill this out.
Okay, because there was supposed to be some public there too, right?
We
Changed your
are
No.
still planning to form a bond committee. We have not yet pulled the trigger on forming that yet.
No, I was thinking of this one, but,
Oh,
No, this was just initial research to find out what we know about our buildings. And it is something that a committee would use, a bond committee would use to say, okay, this is what we know about our buildings. If all 5 roofs are less than 5 years old, then we don't need to worry about that. That kind of, so it's that kind of information that a committee or the full board could use.
so the facility committee will be incorporating the walkthrough that we had, that they had through those buildings. It'll be incorporated into this report as well?
yes. Yeah, I think this helps inform that, right? We got a lot of, reported information. The facilities walkthrough is supported in large part by the capital improvement plan, which the facilities committee reviews sort of on a rolling basis in their committee. And so we're gonna be seeing them say, hey, these are the things that we would like to be in this budget, and hopefully we'll remember that they showed it to us. I think this also is meant to, support the eventual bond committee work, in that there should be an ability to answer those questions of what do we see coming down the line, right? So one of the pieces of feedback we got from the community is, are we gonna have another $5 million or $10 million expense in 3 or 4 years? This should give us some idea if that is the case, and to be able to do some long-term planning. But other thoughts, I'm still sort of formulating my thoughts. Go ahead, Penny.
Just a question on the enrollment piece. I'm just curious. It shows projected to lose about 200 kids from the high school over the next 10 years. Do you know why? Is that sort of what?
It's declining enrollment. It's, we start with child find. We know the 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and extrapolating what is going to come up the pike. Now, in terms of accuracy, you need to take into consideration new building starts in the community, new building starts in the area. And so that's how we determine our population growth. And so that is another area where maybe someone externally might be able to inform us more. As people in places move north from Portland, you know, are we gonna be the new Cumberland, North Yarmouth, where our population increases 20% in a 5-year period? Or are we going to stay the way we are? And one of the sources of information on that is new building starts. Well, when I got here, there was all kinds of new building starts, and they did build a lot. They built 2-bedroom condominiums. So even though there were a lot of building starts, they weren't the kind of buildings where people are gonna raise 3 children. So that, counting on that information didn't. So projecting, yes, trying to find a way to project what your population might be in 10 or 20 years is absolutely something that we want to try to get more information on. And there are probably external sources to be able to get that.
Yeah, the high school has lost, I mean, the district as a whole, I think, has lost 250 kids in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the direction things are going. But it's hard to know how many, like, you know, I go over Dutton Hill and there's 10 new houses in the last 2 years. You know, but are they, you know, people don't have as many kids as they used to. So.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on paths forward? Facilities chair, you have any thoughts?
Well, first of all, great job on this report. It's very thorough. Awesome that you found so much information. Yes, I'm just looking to dig into it, I guess, and just assess what our needs are, and do we need to have a follow-up meeting before facilities to go over this in more detail before the next meeting, depending on the bond schedule?
I mean, if the facilities committee wanted to have an additional meeting this month, there's an additional slot behind policy on the last Wednesday that would keep us on schedule and give us an extra one before the board. That would give you a week before our next business meeting. That might be an option. And then you can just sort of do a gap analysis between what you hope to know and what you do know with this document, seeing where the holes are. I also think some sort of like mapping exercise to the current capital plan might make sense. You know, taking what's on the capital plan and matching up against this and seeing if those two are not in alignment, or if there seems to be any kind of missing pieces might make sense.
Yeah.
And this might be a little much to ask for 2 meetings before the business meeting, but you'd have 2 hours. I think pulling out, you know, the 5 or 10 potential largest ticket items from that mapping exercise might be informative as a discussion point, but that might be a lot of work considering the line items. So those are sort of, I'm kind of talking off the top of my head, but any reactions to that from folks? Go ahead, Jason.
So when you're talking about kind of mapping it out, what I think should happen is anything that we've already kind of planned in that capital plan should just appear in this with the future dates.
Yeah.
That way it's all in one document.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, and seeing if, you know, the work that we've done here, you know, lines up with the work that we expect, and, you know, making sure that we're not redoing something or flagging something like that. But yeah, I agree, we could, you know, we have these dates from the past, we could put them right, dates of the future right on the same document. I think that makes a lot of sense, and categorize all of them. That also would give us a feel for, we might even be able to like pie chart our capital improvement plan a little bit to see, you know, by school or by like area of schools, to see if there's some place where it seems like we're, you know, heavy or light. I don't know.
Yeah.
So one other thing that if we have this information, I haven't seen it in here, that I think would be great to have in here is if we have any information on the life expectancy of any of the things that we have or have done, having that information in here would be good. Like, you know, we had the roof last done, whatever date, and its life expectancy is supposed to be this.
Yeah, I think that, if we look in the bottles of the file cabinets, Tara was coming to me with reams, and I said, you know, give me a one-sentence explanation, and if we want to go back and find schematics and all that, we can come back. But I think that's a very valid point. Through my very brief analysis, it looks like a school roof is about 25 years in intervals of major work. You know, you might have a bit of reshingling after 5 years or whatever. But
I think a lot of that also depends on what specifically was done, right?
Right,
You know,
did
what
you
kind of
go all
work
the
was
way to
done.
the
So-
core? Or
So
did
if
you
we
just-
have
yeah.
that type of information, and we could add that in here, that would be
Yeah.
great. I think that'll help with some of the long-term planning.
The one, and you find too, so you have 5 buildings built at 5 different times, so there's really nothing that's cyclical.
Hmm.
Like in 1995, we did all our roofs, or 1995, we did all the paving. It's clearly there was thought put in to, I'm assuming there was, that it wasn't random, it wasn't arbitrary. But if you look closely, it's like, okay, they paved here in 1983, but then they paved the school next door in 1986. There seemed to be a sensible rotation to the things that they are doing now, whether that was intentional or it's just plotted out that way when you look at the data. So, okay.
Other thoughts, questions? What do you think about adding in October? So it would be adding a 6:30 PM facilities meeting on October 25th in the library? That make sense?
To discuss this.
Just do that exact task, do the, you know, basically combining the capital improvements plan with this, and seeing where those gaps would be? Anybody object to that?
As a facilities committee, or?
Just as a facilities
Yeah.
committee, that would give you 2 meetings, because then you'd have another meeting right before our next business meeting, and then the facilities committee can sort of represent, you know, findings after that. That makes sense?
We check with Jeff and,
So-
go ahead.
This day?
Oh.
We're talking about October 25th,
Yeah.
is that right? Which is a Wednesday?
Yeah.
On the calendar right now, it shows both policy and personnel meet on that day.
I have personnel on the 18th.
It's
consecutive.
The agenda?
Excuse me,
personnel
the gray, what does
Yeah.
that mean?
Were we trying to add a second personnel meeting?
Where it's gray?
We did a change to personnel because I'm not gonna be here next Wednesday. Do you remember, Maggie, how we?
It was to do with negotiations, you weren't sure whether or not we needed to have the second one with negotiations.
The 25th is actually one.
What is that,
Yeah, on
the gray?
On the paper,
A
but
lot
on
of
the,
gray.
on
this, it
the,
doesn't show
on the
it.
district calendar.
That means they're not,
Yeah.
they're not able to,
Determined?
So we might have
so they
to
might
figure
come
that out.
back,
See
because
if we
they're still
actually have
working on
them.
this.
Okay, so let's,
Make it 100%
let's
correct.
table
Okay.
the scheduling, we have a little bit of time. But I think there's general appetite for an extra facilities committee meeting, because if we wait to the facilities committee that's right before the next business meeting, there's no way we have enough time to digest this. So, let's say that we will schedule an extra facilities committee between now and the next business meeting with enough time for that facilities committee to accomplish that task. Is that okay? Yeah, we can schedule offline? All right, let's do that. Craig, this is great. Thanks to the administration for us. This is really detailed work and stuff that, so is this a living document somewhere?
It's a living document, it's, we have it's a live document, so this was cut off at 6 o'clock last night.
Okay.
So there's still people working on it.
Yeah. So yeah, we can, you know, we can put that document, Maggie, somewhere like a facilities committee collection of these documents in the folder structure somewhere. Awesome. Okay. Any further comments or questions before we move on to the lavender?
The lavender report.
Okay, let's go to number 3, which is to hear a biannual report on the strategic plan. And the document is lavender.
If you look at the periwinkle document.
Was it, who was it, Elle Woods that liked to
Yes,
have the lavender?
I just smelled it, it
Yes.
doesn't smell.
No,
It needs to be scented.
no.
So,
Elle Wood's a hero of mine.
So we're well into the second year of the 5-year strategic plan. This summer, we did some work on it. The first thing we did this summer was, all right, let's look at what we did our first, at the end of our first year. And we did some work. We did a 2-day retreat, and we spent about 6 hours of that 2-day retreat debriefing our strategic plan and ramping up for our next steps. And I came to you at one of the summer meetings with a color-coded document, and it listed the 4 goals and then the subsets of the 4 goals. And it was color-coded either, each item was color-coded either fully complete, nearing completion, have not begun. And so what we did after that in August and June was return to the 4 major goals, and anything that was not done or still needs to be done, we moved forward. And so what this document has, under the 4 main goals, are the priorities that we're going to work on this year and the actual deliverables. So the goal under all learners will experience high-quality instruction and be able to demonstrate skills for lifelong learning, work, and citizenship. There's about 6 priorities we're going to work on and probably about 15 deliverables. So each of these items in the deliverable section, we will come to you probably in June or July and say, again, these 10 items, we were able to complete 100%. With these 5 items, maybe we're 80% done. And so we'll be able to keep you updated on what we've been able to complete. Again, it's a bit of a dense document. It was completed earlier this week. And so we've already begun a lot of the work on this. As a matter of fact, this Friday is the traditional Indigenous Peoples Day weekend, where there's a 4-day weekend, no school for the children Friday. Teachers spend all of Friday doing professional development kind of work, and so a lot of this work will be done in earnest by over 100 teachers on Friday, and we're going to keep working on it on our Wednesday releases and our early morning starts. And so probably around January, I'll give you a mini update on some of the work that's been completed. And so again, this is a document that you can read. There are components here that come up in facilities. There are components here that come up in curriculum. I would say this is a 70% curriculum instruction and assessment plan, but there's also a lot of things that are cultural in nature, what kind of school you want to be, and then a lot about facilities and safety. And so, and again, this is a living, breathing document that is able for the public to be able to see.
Okay, again, I don't think we're necessarily intended to read through and digest this whole thing on site. What this is going to inform is a lot of the work that we do in committees. You know, what we want to be doing is holding the administration accountable to this document. So You know, if we see these things on the strategic plan deliverables, we want to make sure that those things pop up in committee work and make their way to the board. But sort of, again, any clarifying questions on what this document is, or thoughts on something you want to make sure we add to this document, or anything like that? What we try to do, you know, the next update probably, if I'm guessing, will be our one-page document, which is sort of these things, and we see it more in status on each one. So this is kind of the kickoff for the year, and then generally midway through, we get our one-page document where you'll see all of these things and the kind of status that they're in, you know, underway, completed, pushed to next year, whatever it happens to be.
Maybe I'm missing the point here, but I don't see any results here. I just see words, you know, like, I understand what the priorities are and, you know, and you want to deliver, but there's no result.
Right, so that's what, right.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I was
So-
just saying, is that the next time we get an update, we'll see the status of each one of these deliverables. So
This is what they're working on.
the year is just starting, so these are the
Mhm.
things that they are gonna try to accomplish this year. And then the next time we get an update, we'll see, you know, this is 50% completed, or this is 100% completed, or
Right,
whatever
I
it happens to be.
understand that, but what is completed? What is the words that say that it's been completed? What is the goal? The result, you
So
know, that's,
so-
am I making sense?
Yep, you are making sense. So for example, let me find something, so implement a new so we have here as a priority, continued emphasis on high achievement in reading, writing, and mathematics in early elementary. So the deliverable is implement new math program in grades K through 12, pilot a math program in grades 3 and 4, and continue reviewing the reading and literacy practices. So you will see some of this in a couple of places, but namely what you're going to get in June is we're going to talk to you about, or probably Shonda will talk to you, or maybe some of the building principals will talk about, okay, so the new math program that we purchased, this is what we've done with the new math program this year. This is how we've trained the teachers to use it. This is how we've done the instruction with it. And here are the results of our main education assessment testing after the first year. Here are the things, so you're going to get in June or July the
Okay.
deliverables saying, okay, this is the results that we have so far. That, and I think usually in a strategic plan, you're going to find a lot of things that are 100% complete. We bought this mathematics series. We thought it was a good series. We're using it in grades K 1 and 2. And after 2 years, that deliverable, we're showing you the results of what we've been able to achieve. Is there any growth over that 2-year period? So that would be the deliverable that you would get in June or July.
That's what I was looking for. You answered it. Thank you. Yeah.
So I think what, again, it's a little bit of homework, excuse me, I'm calorie deficient, I had some crackers here. Take this home and really, you know, the homework assignment is to take a look at the strategic plan, take a look at this document, and make sure there aren't any glaring holes, right? Is there anything that you think should be on here that's not, or anything on here that you think is misprioritized? And that's the feedback that we want to give to the administration. So, you know, we generally check in quarterly on this, and, you know, it's not something where we want to get too far into the weeds, but, you know, if there's something that seems kind of, well, you know, definitely missing, or, you know, something that doesn't make sense in terms of what the goals are and what the deliverables are, you know, we can raise those questions and get it on an agenda for a future meeting.
And in terms of the actual text, it's dense. It's 8 pages of dense text. And many of you are new board members. If you've been on the board for 12 years, you probably know what we mean by Tier 1 instruction. if you've been on the board for 8 weeks, it says you speak. So please don't hesitate to email Shanda or me, what does this phrase mean? What does this term mean? And we'll be happy to respond, but we do try and, education can get out of hand with the slang and lingo, but don't hesitate to email and ask Shanda or I, what exactly do you mean by MTSS? Or what have you.
And Maggie, can you make sure that a copy of this document is in the folder for this meeting? Thank you. Other thoughts or questions on this? All right, great work, thank you. Let's take a look at approving an ad hoc committee. We can have discussion on this first if we want. Do you have the document?
Yeah, it should be on the attachment, but I also brought some hard copies if people want a hard copy.
Is that a formation document for the Transportation Committee in the folder, Maggie?
Is the one, I'm sorry.
The formation document for the Transportation Committee, ad hoc committee? It's in there?
Hold on.
Yeah, it was in the Craig's.
I didn't see it in here.
It was in Craig's email.
Yeah.
But it's just not in the folder, it's fine.
Okay.
Just trying to centrally locate everything. All right, so if people want to pull up that letter, that might be helpful.
You got an extra hard copy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, take it.
Okay, there it is. Yeah. So yeah, it's in the attachments to the update that we got from Craig for
Okay,
this
thank you.
meeting. It's just not in the folder. So this is something that we talked about in Personnel Committee. Something that I think is important. We have wrangled the transportation issue into a sort of stalemate at the moment. It's not good, but, COVID waves notwithstanding, it is generally at least stable. There are unhappy parents, but there are, we have sort of made the accommodations that we can, and things are what they are. The kids are getting to the school. But what I think is apparent is that there's just too many Band-Aids, bubble gum, duct tape, baling wire on this transportation department, and we don't have a long-term solution at the moment, right? We are not increasing our stockpile of bus drivers. We are not, we're hanging on by our fingernails. We have a, older workforce that it would be irresponsible of us to just assume are going to stick around for the next, 20 years. So just went into the policies and, we reviewed the policy for doing this just to make sure we were doing it right. At the recommendation of the chair, we can create these ad hoc committees to try to accomplish very specific goals. So rather than take up, 2 or 3 personnel committees with this topic all by itself, and especially considering the impact that this has on our school community, I thought it made sense to try to bring in some of those community members, bring in some of our administrators, bring in some of our school board members, and create a focus committee that will look at this problem and make a recommendation to us at the end of a very discrete amount of time. Hopefully you had a chance to look at the proposal. It has specific objectives, a specific scope, a specific authority. We talk about how the leadership is going to be accomplished, and it's 4 meetings, and we would get a recommendation from this ad hoc committee at our December business meeting. What I would be encouraging this committee to do is, to look at all the options, brainstorm. This is the opportunity for, so-called outside the box thinking, trying to really understand the problem and trying to outline whatever it is they come up with as the best way forward. And it may be that we don't have a lot of great options, but it is something that we really need to throw some time and energy at, because it's an existential threat to our ability to educate kids. We need to get them to our schools efficiently. And it's not just a school-wide problem. I am quite certain that anybody who drives Route 26 in the morning or the afternoon would very much like us to figure out how to cut down the traffic going in and out of the high school and the middle school. Not to mention the backups in front of Memorial and Russell, which are, their own sort of onerous problems. Any questions or concerns about the formation of this committee?
On MS, what is this again? Main school, anyway, at the convention,
Yeah.
won't they be bringing this up for some ideas? Also here, a chronic absenteeism, I read a big, long article that they're gonna be addressing at this convention too.
Mm-hmm.
So, whereas the statewide problem, maybe we, with more people involved in the discussion, there may be something that information we can bring back to the board, those who are attending,
Absolutely. I'm putting myself on this committee, and I am absolutely going to those sessions at the Management Association. So definitely my intention to try to bring, whatever I can find there into the committee meetings for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's not on here, though?
No, it's not. I mean, I think we're gonna be gathering information in lots of different ways. Any other questions or concerns? Go ahead, Cole.
It's not really I guess it's kind of more of a comment, but, when we spoke about this last meeting, we talked about how important, was it school board meeting, or am I thinking of personnel?
Personnel.
It was personnel. So, obviously it is a very important, topic that we need to discuss, and I know that we gotta kinda do our due diligence, but I was kinda hoping to see this a little bit more fast tracked than what it is, that's all. I guess I thought we were in the same impression, but I understand we have to do our research and make sure it's done correctly as well. But-
Yeah. It also, we wanted to make sure that, we created the committee by policy and all that sort of thing, and we really needed a business meeting before we could create the committee, so. Craig, do you have thoughts on who will be on this committee?
Well, I keep going back to, different people have different skill sets. The late, great Ann Rowe was a career accountant, and because she had those skill sets, she brought incredible things to the school district in finance and budgeting. Some people are engineers, some people are teachers, some people are nurses. What are their skill sets? For this kind of a problem, I like the idea of someone that has nothing to do with the school, because when you're living a problem and within the problem, it's hard to solve the problem because you don't have objectivity. The other thing is, there's a thing about small business owners, managers, leaders of organizations. They have to solve problems. If you're a small business owner or a mid-sized business owner, you can't have a problem fester for 4 months. You'll go under. And so who are people in the community that have managed large organizations or have built a business from scratch and lived through recessions and survived? Who are people that can come here and look at us from maybe a somewhat helicopter view and give us some cold hard suggestions, or a lot of time when you can get into these committees, I read the 2013 Transportation Committee, they spent a lot of time restating the problem. They spent a lot of time saying, well, what if this and what if that? I would like to find people outside of the school system, but in the community, because this is a huge community problem, you as a businessman or you as an organizational manager, what would you do if your business or your organization were facing this existential threat? So that's my thinking.
Go ahead, Gary.
I would like to suggest that on the community side involvement, that we reach out to either the trucking companies or the hauling companies, or, I mean, not so much transportation because they're competing with us. But they're already trying to solve this for their own businesses, and they belong to larger associations that I assume is giving them help in trying to develop a talent pool of drivers. My next door neighbor owns, a long distance hauling company, and I know she's had issues keeping drivers, and so they're competing with each other. But I know they're trying to solve this problem also. It might be able to bring us some expertise in areas that have already been addressed to help us, and maybe some suggestions on. I know that at one point, some communities were talking about sharing drivers with their local towns. Can the guy that drives the bus drive the dump truck the rest of the day and then come back to drive the bus in the afternoon? But you may get some creative solutions if you actually reach out to the people that are also thrashing with this problem.
That's what I was thinking. If you've already got your CDL Class B, dump truck.
Right.
I mean, to get your school bus endorsement, it must be much less of a hurdle than it would be from a Class C, like
Well,
I've got.
the thing is, when you move into transportation, you get into a whole other federal level of licensing
Moving
that
people
involve,
around,
well, that's when you get into the whole, the urine testing and all the other stuff that happens when you're transporting students, so. But you're right, I mean, there are people driving for a living, and they're a limited pool out there, and they're trying to develop that pool also, and I would think that maybe some of these questions have been answered a little bit, but we can get some help.
Go ahead, Penny.
Also thinking where we know that the population of drivers that we have now are all aging, approaching retirement, have retired. Maybe someone from that community recently retired or approaching retirement, of are there creative ideas to make it work with the folks that we have? My mom is a retirement age bus driver, and she keeps looking, but she doesn't come because she doesn't want to work 60 hours a week. Is there room to have more drivers who get to work?
Are you
20 hours a
volunteering
week.
your mom?
If she can get in for less than 40 hours a week, she'll come down.
Well, I'm just, you're volunteering her for the committee.
Oh, yeah, she'd be great. But, and she drives, but not for our district, but her grandkids live in the district. So again, someone who's not in it, but's in it, of how to keep folks doing it a little longer without it being such a drain. Is that a thing we can do,
Well, today, or yesterday, I spoke to, we have someone that wants a part-time ed tech job. Well, we have no part-time ed techs, but they're fully qualified and talented. And I said, look, we'll find you 20 hours of ed tech work someplace, even though, we'll fill half the position.
It's right, it's better than nothing.
Same thing, if I have someone that wants to drive bus that's fully qualified, and they say, I can only drive in the morning, we'll
Can
find
we
a way to
find
make
someone to
that.
do it in the afternoon? Yeah. So, I keep meaning to bring that one up.
Yeah, someone with some community actual experience doing the job is a good idea, for sure. Go ahead, Cole.
Just a quick question for Craig. Craig, has anybody actually talked to our bus drivers to ask them
I was just gonna say that, Cole.
In what sense?
to see if they have any
Advice.
advice or how to fix this problem? Solutions possible?
In terms of how do we fix this, not really. In your analysis, bus drivers, what do we do to fix this problem? I think, hiring more bus drivers is definitely what they've said. Compensation for the job, because it is competitive. They are the highest paid people in the support union. We may have fallen behind when this budget was negotiated about 15 minutes before COVID hit.
But when was this conversation had? Like, how long ago has this conversation been had?
When, like a formal conversation?
Yeah.
Like a meeting with all of the bus drivers of what can we do?
Sure.
I don't think we've had a formal one.
Okay. So that's something fairly easy that we can do that's,
We can.
right?
I'm meeting with them in 3 weeks as a group. That might be, if people want to join us, that might be a good time to go.
Yeah, I mean, they live and breathe this, so maybe they
Yeah.
have some recommendations, advice.
You also maybe calling your surgeons out of surgery to tell you how to do surgery. when you need them, you know, that they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, what do you fix it, man?
Yeah, no, we'll be meeting with them. But one thing might be, on the one hand, you know, it's the kind of, you know, we could double their salary, that's not going to create more bus drivers, but as I was saying, right, they finished their contract negotiations right before COVID hit. And at that time, we were paying better than Wyndham School District, we were paying better than Poland, we were paying better than many of them. But unfortunately, the 3 years since, all those people have been moving ahead of us. So the pay will definitely be something that would help, but yeah.
All right, let's not solve the problem.
Yeah.
You have thoughts, Misty?
No, I was just gonna say that the problem is more than just pay. There's a lot of like route routing and, you know, the backups, and there's more than just that involved in this project, so.
Right.
Like I said, I would like to volunteer myself for this, because I think it needs chair attention, it's that big of a deal. Lauren, I was thinking about, using your Department of Transportation expertise, would you
Yes.
join the committee? Great. And then we need a third, do I have other people?
Full volunteer.
Jason? All right, I think that's great. That gives us personnel and some DOT experience and the chair. Obviously, other people are welcome to attend, but we're going to pencil those in. And then we need to identify these 4 community members, but we do have Craig, Jeff, and Diane on that committee as well. So I think the task is Craig and I will identify those 4 community members and invite them to join. And they will be present by the 17th. If people have neighbors or mothers they would like to forward the names to Craig and I for consideration, if we can email that to us by the end of the week, if you have suggestions, that would be great.
We have some longtime community supportive trucking companies too that I'm sure we could reach out to.
Yeah.
That have been parents, community involved.
You know, I don't want to get into solutions, but, you know, if a guy's been driving from Gray to Los Angeles back and forth for 15 years, maybe they'd like to do something closer to home, and we could.
If you start stealing drivers from the local trucking companies, we might have people slamming through the front door of Russell, but let's table that idea.
Is Cole on the list?
We do, hold on. What?
Is Cole on the list?
For what?
The committee?
I can be if you want me, but.
No, I didn't know if you raised your hand or not.
I would just go with me, Lauren, and Jason
Okay.
for those 3 slots. All right, so can I hear a motion to create this committee per the discussion and the proposal that we have in front of us?
I move to approve an ad hoc committee whose purpose is to investigate problems and recommend solutions for student transportation as discussed.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Great, thanks, everybody, good discussion. We will get cracking on that, and I'm gonna add those to my calendar. All right, next up is a report on changes to the organization and staffing of nursing and health services. Chanda. I knew you weren't here just to spectate.
I got nothing better to do on the list.
That's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I haven't been here in a long time, and I know, sorry, quick aside, Craig had shared with you that I was out on a family issue, and I just want to say how much I appreciate the support that we received. My now 7th grader was very, very ill. She's had been ill her whole life, but she got extremely ill in the past year, was listed for a liver transplant this past January. We had 5 false alarm transplant calls over the course of the spring, and on June 7th, she got her transplant, and she is doing amazing, and we're so pleased. And I just wanted to add how thankful I am for all of you, our principals, our teachers, our community. Our community was reaching out just to share their good wishes and their prayers and their support, and, you know, in addition to then helping make sure my work got done, even if I, you know, wasn't here on a given day. So we are deeply, deeply grateful and very happy to be on this side of things and getting back to normal. So health services, I'm not gonna go through all the details we went through in personnel, I'm just gonna give you the highlights, which is that a long, long time ago, pre-COVID, back when life was different, our plan was to move to a model in our school district where we hire 3 certified RN Maine Department of Education school nurses, and we have 2 health aides, which is a support staff position. Generally, we're looking for someone with medical backgrounds, such as a CNA or an MA kind of experience, who works under the RNs. In that model, we have a person in every health office in our district with varying credentials. Those MAs work directly under our school nurses to oversee work. Traditionally, before the plan to move to that, we had 2 school RNs and we had 3 health aides. When we went to COVID, we went to 5 RNs because that's what we needed at the time. And so the plan has always been to move back to a 3 RN, 2 health aide model, which we had made that decision before COVID because of the health needs that we were seeing in our schools. Cut to the current time, we were looking at doing a 2-year transition back to that model. This current year, we were supposed to be 4 RNs with 1 health aide. And we're continuing to work to fill that position, but we are very, very close. And then one of our RNs resigned. They decided not to finish out our school year. So we huddled up and we decided it really didn't make sense at this point to try to hire on an RN school nurse for a 1 year only, hiring in October. It wasn't going to be super successful finding a candidate, and also that wasn't really fair to the candidate we were going to find. If we were going to a 3 and 2 model, let's just do it now. So that's what we did. We had a really strong pool of health aides already posted, so we're dipping back into that pool and looking to hire 2 people out of that group, and hopefully within the next month or 2, we'll have our 3 current school nurses in place in addition to 2 new health aides.
Great. Any questions or concerns about that?
Yeah, I'd like to know, what does the health aide do?
So a health aide is in the health office in the school. So every school has a nurse's office. We call it the health office. And so their job is to primarily meet the needs of kids and provide medication. So many of our kids need daily medications. It would be their job to distribute those medications. When they come down needing Band-Aids or, boo-boos, broken bones doesn't happen very often. Those 3 things just come together, right? You always say boo-boos, bruises, and broken bones. That doesn't happen very often. But it'll be their responsibility to provide that immediate care to students as they need it. What we see mostly in our health offices, as someone who has had to cover them quite a bit over the years, we see a lot of, they didn't feel good, they're complaining, can you check their temperature, like that sort of stuff. So a lot of kiddos with, I have a tummy ache, here's some magic crackers. It works with the middle school and the high school kids too, I swear. Give them some magic crackers, back to class they go. So it's that sort of treatment. For the MAs, the difference is they're also checking in with an RN. So if a student comes to the health office and they're complaining about something specific, they're connecting with their specific supervising RN before they provide that care. So providing that sort of emergent care to students, doing our daily medications. We also monitor attendance. So they have a role in working with the main office around student attendances. If a student's been out for 3 or 4 days and we don't know why, we might use the school nurse to try to find out or use the health aide to find out if there's something medical going on. And then they also help with record keeping, and then they help with our annual screening. So we have to do vision and hearing screening at different age groups, and so they help with that process as well.
So what does the RN do?
So we have 5 buildings, 3 RNs in each building, and 2 MAs. So all of that stuff that I just listed the MAs are doing, the RNs have to do that as well in their own building, in addition to supervising that work that the MA is doing in their building. And then they layer on, like our MAs are only gonna work with a family or a student to a certain point. So students who need 504 plans or IEP plans, which are specific plans under federal law that we have to provide to students to give them the needs in the school. MAs don't sit in on those meetings. MAs have to implement them, but they don't sit in on those meetings. So our school nurses have to attend all 504 meetings in addition to some IEP meetings if there are health pieces involved to make decisions about how a student's health care will be provided in a school. They're also responsible for all of our state reporting, which there is a pretty significant amount of state reporting that we have to do around health office operations. They have to meet with me to talk about big picture, strategic plan direction, amongst other things. I could pull out their full job description at some point if you want, but.
Yeah. Colloquially, all 5 of these people are known as the school nurse in the building. It's just they have different levels of degree, which give them different responsibilities and different pay levels. It is somewhat less expensive to have 3 RNs and 2 assistants than it is to have 4
5
RNs and
yeah.
1 assistant.
Yeah.
And part of what we used the COVID money on was to ramp up those RNs because we could pay for more because there was obviously COVID impact. With that COVID money going away this year, it certainly makes financial sense to have fewer RNs in the district unless they are needed. And you're saying that we're fine in that staffing level. Okay.
Excuse me, these are all full-time positions, correct?
They are full-time positions within their contracts. So the school nurses are under the teacher's contract and the health aides are under the support contract.
Any other questions or concerns?
It's great.
It's not a voting item, but we just want to make sure everybody is comfortable with the adjustment. All right, great. Thanks, Chanda.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to discussing the high school graduation date of Wednesday, June 5th at 5 o'clock. And the conflicting June 5 school board business meeting with possible action to follow. I am actually curious as to what your recommendation is on this one, Craig.
We all go to graduation and then go to the old port and have meetings.
At Gritty's,
Yeah.
they have some long tables.
Yeah. So, for those of you that don't know, there's Merrill Auditorium does graduation services, and then Cumberland County Civic Center, which is Cross Center, does graduation services. What's nice about the Cross Center is they do graduations all day long. And so the 30 some odd schools and colleges all pitch in. So the cost is divided, and so we each get a slot, and they take care of all the sound, all the seating, all the ushering, all the security, and then we have our graduation. However, they cannot guarantee what time we can have. And so we know it's the first week. We put in a bid. We say our last day of school is such and such a day. We would like our graduation at noon or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on that day. And usually we get what we want. Sometimes we don't. And this is a year where there's a conflict. And so what would happen is you have the June business meeting scheduled for 6:30, and normally the chair and superintendent are there in some official capacity. And so a number of things you could do is move the school board meeting to a Tuesday or a Thursday. 9 months advance notice, we could certainly publicize it with the public and let them know that. We could, I don't know, move it to the next Wednesday or the previous Wednesday, but you have a lot of responsibilities.
It can't be the next Wednesday because that would be after the vote.
Exactly.
So we need to have a business meeting before the vote
Exactly.
where we finalize the work for this school board year. And then that next Wednesday is the first school board meeting of the next year.
Yeah.
When you guys will be without me.
I've seen this happen in another district where I was the high school principal, and the superintendent went to graduation, and the assistant superintendent chaired the meeting. That's a possibility. So I don't have an exact solution tonight. Sadie's looked at a number of different ways to do this. We considered jumping ship and going to Merrill. But the problem is, if we leave our traditional cross center, then we give up all seniority, we give up all, yeah, so.
But
It could be just as easy as making the meeting to
Tuesday.
Tuesday, I was gonna say,
So
why don't we just do
I
it?
think we
just
could
think
probably do that.
moving it to Tuesday.
Is it a town council night?
That was my question, is that there might be a town council meeting on that first Tuesday.
Okay, Thursday?
Well, we could do it at McGloucester, or we could do it in the high school library. If this facility, if it was scheduled, if that meeting is scheduled for this facility, we could see if McGloucester is available or the high school library is available.
It is a good thing that it's on this Wednesday for a few reasons too. Traditionally, we've done it on that first Saturday of June, which is when the state championships are for track and field and a few other events. So we've gotten some feedback from, every year there's 3 or 4 seniors that have to miss graduation or miss the state championships. So this will make sure we don't have that conflict. So there are good reasons to do it on Wednesday. It's definitely new and different for us, but I think it's worth trying. I don't have strong opinions. I think with this much lead time, rescheduling it to Monday, Tuesday, Thursday is reasonable. Does anybody have objection to that? I guess I would suggest, even if we could get a different facility, I don't think it's a great idea to have meetings on top of meetings for the community. They might want to go to both. So I think I would probably recommend Monday. Selfishly, I have rehearsal with my band on Thursday. not that I
There
have.
is a town meeting on Tuesday.
Yeah, there is definitely a town meeting on Tuesday. So I would say maybe we schedule it to Monday the 3rd. Does anybody have an objection to that?
It's a
All right.
voting item.
So can I have, let's do first a motion to, actually, all we need is a motion to adjust our calendar. We don't have to approve graduation. So can I hear a motion to adjust the official school board calendar to move the business meeting in June from the 5th to the 3rd?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, thanks. Everybody put that note on your calendar. You got that, Maggie?
The third,
Venue TBA?
Venue TBA and time. I assume it'll be 6:30, but venue and time TBA. Hopefully it's either here or in New Gloucester so we can be streamed. Okay, next up, appointing a delegate to the Maine School Board Association Delegate Assembly. This is among the worst jobs, I would say, of a school board member. Not my favorite thing. Gary, I know how much you loved being a delegate last year. Just as a quick primer, the Maine School Board Association, we are a member of that organization, and technically, each school board gets a voting delegate for the resolutions or any other votes that need to be taken by the organization. And each year at the annual meeting, which is in October, which we talked about, they have a series of resolutions that they put forward that the delegates vote yes or no on, and then those resolutions are presented to the legislature, are used in lobbying efforts, are pointed to over the course of the year to say, hey, look, the School Board Association voted to make this resolution. It must be important to school boards, that kind of thing. So there is a relatively, I don't know, Gary, do you want to characterize the meeting for everybody? You were there last year.
Tedious.
What's that?
Tedious.
Yes.
It's just a long Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, how long is it? I was wondering.
it depends on how many things they want to discuss. It's a couple hours anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty long, so people just,
I think they book it for like a half day.
yeah, if
It's
people
a
want to
Saturday.
refer to, in our packet, there is the proposed resolutions. There's a big list of them, things that are deleted from previous years, or people that are, things that are proposed for this year, there's rationale. We imbue our delegate with the power to vote on our behalf. But ultimately, that delegate in the moment makes the vote. We don't, or we have not, sort of voted as a board to decide what our vote should be on each resolution, because there's often amendments or debate or, so, opinions might change with information provided, has been the tradition. I don't know, Gary, do you want to?
Well, the last year, the majority of the things that were voted on last year were actually had very little change.
Right.
So you're really kind of voting to maintain status quo. Occasionally, there's something that's a little controversial, and we usually will have that conversation in this meeting, just to make sure we're all on the same page, or if we agree, don't say all of us, but if there's enough of us that agree to support it. But, yeah, and then there's typical Zoom vote, you just raise your hand.
Count them up.
It was more interesting when they used to do it in person at the MSMA convention. They used to take everybody away for a couple hours, and we actually did it, but that was better.
We're not going back to in-person.
Not yet.
Yeah.
It's Zoom again this year. Well, I think Zoom enables them to, they can really get a cross-section of people from around the state. Because a lot of people just, you get this, a lot of the MSMA folks that come from long distance are the same people every year. Where this gives some of the more distant school boards a chance to get somebody else involved.
Right. Yeah, there are actually school boards who will come down to the Augusta meeting and spend the night from, Caribou or wherever. But a lot of school boards are not gonna make that trip. For us, it's a 45-minute drive. For many others, it's not quite so convenient. So generally what we do is take volunteers, if anybody would like to act as the school board delegate and vote on our behalf. Generally, there isn't a clamor for the job, but if there's, more than one volunteer or some more than one person feels strongly about it, then we do have a, nomination and voting process available to us.
I'd be happy to do it another year, unless somebody really would like to do it.
If you wanted to do it again, you
No,
have the experience with it.
Happy to do it.
and-
I will not be attending the convention this year for the first time, but I am available for this day.
All right. I am inclined to let him volunteer to do that again. Is there anybody who objects? All right, can I hear a motion to appoint Gary as our delegate to the MSBA Delegate Assembly?
I move to appoint Gary as delegate to the Maine School Board Association Delegate Assembly on October 21st.
Second.
All right, any other discussion on that? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
And for the alternate, I have traditionally, or the chair has traditionally served as alternate, just because I, will be there and I'll take the lumps. I'm happy to do that again, unless somebody else wants to be the alternate.
Zoom's kind of nice, you can actually attend the meeting on your deck or whatever.
Yeah, it's not as bad at all.
Yeah,
Your
but
headphones on.
It's like watching C-SPAN for 4 hours.
It is a little bit like that. It's very much like that.
Does anybody want to make a motion to appoint me as the alternate?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion on that? All in favor? All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay, let's move into the two policies that we have to consider. Let's see. How about I hear a motion on BDF and then we can discuss it in discussion.
I move to approve policy BDF on board advisory committees.
Second.
All right, Penny, policy chair, why don't you lead discussion?
Okay, so this one is pretty straightforward. We're looking at it again, as a matter of course, based on it being adopted originally in 2015. So for those who are new to the board, policies come up for a variety of reasons, and in the in-betweens, we're always looking for policies that haven't been reviewed in, 5, 6, 7 years, so that things are fresh. So this is one of those. It's, the only things we found were, a small grammatical change. Otherwise, this still, made sense, and we voted to put it forward, essentially as is.
Yeah, also, we haven't created an ad hoc committee in a long time, so we just wanted to make sure we were doing it by the policy, and we figured why not send it through the committee while we were doing it. Any questions or concerns on that? All right, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, next up.
I move to accept, approve policy BEDVR, agenda format.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Okay, so, this got a little separated because, folks may remember we looked at, the agenda creation policy in the spring, working our way through older policies. This is the format policy, originally adopted in 2015. There was a sample, MSMA policy that was similar to ours, that we compared it to and chose to essentially adopt, it's not a replacement, but we updated some language to match, where we specified a vote needs to take place to do additions or adjustments to the agenda, rather than leaving it as board policy, which was not very specific. And then we did just reorder the meeting pieces to the order that we actually use in practice versus the one that was previously suggested.
Thoughts or questions on this? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Great, easy peasy. And we'll hear a little bit more about policies in the policy report. Why don't we move into committee reports? First up is the Facilities Committee, which met earlier today. Take it away, Misty.
Yes, we had our meeting earlier, right before this meeting. First up was the discussion briefly about on Craig's piece that he presented on already tonight, so we don't need to go into that detail. Update of ongoing work. As reported at the last meeting, we had some playground new equipment being installed on 10/15, but there's been a shipping delay, so it got moved out a week. Not a huge deal, have a little bit of a delay. There's lots of additions being added to Russell, some to Dunn, and a little bit to Memorial. So those will all be touched in the coming week or two. The front porch of central office, we got some bids to replace that. The bids are just being currently looked at, which course to take, as well as the ramp. And then we'll be doing the back steps ourselves. So that's that. For the facilities debriefing, I was unable to attend that meeting, but Cole gave us a report on what he found. Overall, the consensus with the buildings were in great shape. They've been well cared for, they're being well cared for. All the floors look in great condition, all of them were stripped and resealed, they're looking great. All the grounds are looking great, except for minor things that I'm gonna go through here. Two things stuck out at all of the properties. Consensus for need for storage at all of our schools, one way or another. And then number two is paving issues. All of them seem to need some sort of paving one way or another that we should look into. We discussed this at the last meeting, actually, where we're gonna go to town and kind of go to bid and maybe work with them on getting a better price. And then a small note that Cole had made regarding, at the bus garage, putting some kind of rust control on the buses to make them have, you know, longer longevity. That has never been done before, but something we could look into. At Memorial, there's some water coming through the side door of the library that needs to be looked at. Paving in the rear, and then the rear doors need some looking at. At Dunn, paving again, and then there's some siding, working on prices for siding there. In the lower field for recess needs some attention because it has no grass.
Yeah.
And needs to be looked at what the solution will be, because there's kids playing out there every day at recess. At Russell, there's a need for refrigeration space. We have 2, I understand, and we really need a 3rd, or to look at getting a walk-in, which we really don't have room for, but that's what they really truly need. Floor tiling updates in the right wing, needed some look at. Jay had recommended some tile that had been put in at the entrance that looked gorgeous, that it was more flexible. We could look into using that in those areas that will have greater life expectancy. And then Russell playground fence. We have that on our to-do list. At the middle school, there's a moisture issue in the front that's been ongoing with the runoff. It's causing some moss and slippery conditions in the winter. We need to look and figure out how we're gonna solve that issue. Tom had a couple suggestions regarding removing some flowers there, putting some stone for better water runoff. Pressure washing, side of the middle school. And then there's some water damage was found in the back of the science room that we should look into. 2 great things that were recently done at the middle school and high school. We put in some vape detectors in the restrooms, and those were installed, and I assume working well. At the high school, the west wing entrance doors, there's no key card, but Cole thought that might be something that was overlooked when we did the key cards because it was part of the plan.
We gotta get that keyed up for sure.
Yep, so that's definitely a priority. And then another big need is a stair chair lift for ADA compliance for the middle school. And there was an estimate given during the meeting was looking at like $11,000 for something like that. So we really need to look at that for the middle school and high school. Overall, we need a review of our transportation, which we already have our committee for that. Regarding the flow of the buses and parent pickup for the smaller schools is kind of out of control. So as long as wait time and things like that. And then I had asked, which wasn't on the agenda, about staffing, because that's always a concern, and that we interviewed recently a 2nd shift custodian at the high school. And then we're looking at a substitute custodial, that person that will work everywhere and fill in the gaps as needed. And that's, they have somebody interested in doing that, a few hours to fill in where we need it. So it's a great meeting.
Great, very informative report, thank you. Questions or thoughts on that report? I told Jeff and Tom directly via email, but I'll say in this meeting as well, just really appreciated the thoroughness of the facilities tour that we got. Really felt like I have a good understanding of the status of the buildings, and just appreciate how much effort Jeff and Tom and their team has put into understanding the issues and addressing them economically. So one of the high points of the year is getting into those buildings and really taking that tour. So thanks to everybody who did that. I know it was a long day. Okay, next up, Finance Committee.
We met almost a month ago now for the first time in this year. This full minutes in your packet with a lot of details, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. I'll just touch on things. Open the meeting with going over our charge as a committee, bring people up to date on what it is why we were actually meeting. Reviewed July, August financial reports with Diane. We went into year-end purchases and accruals. We were able to use unused budget funds. lower costs as well as unspent funds for facilities. Districts will use some of these funds to purchase items at year's end that are needed but not budgeted for. This year, the district was able to use $450,000 for accrued purchases, included fuel, tires, hot water, heater replacement, fencing, snow plows. Put money against vape detectors in the bathrooms in both middle school and high school, as was already mentioned, and other items. We had an audit update. We're extending our contract, I understand, with RKO. And they are in our offices now or soon to begin the audit for this year. Went over solar savings update. Since September 2021, our savings are estimated at $27,000. Anticipate seeing greater savings when more of the solar farms come online. They did not all come online as quickly as they expected when we first signed up with the consortium that we're with, but there are more joining all the time. And a report on ESSER grants. ESSER 2 has been completed. ESSER 3 is complete, well, actually by now. No, 9/30, I'm sorry. ESSER 3, we have another year on.
Yeah.
Went over a brief staffing and new hire cost update, and then reviewed our workers' compensation premiums. District modification was 0.65, which is very good. Premium savings estimated for this year is $58,000. So, and then there was a new truck purchase that went out to bid, and we had one bid. And then she negotiated it down by a couple $1,000s, ended up being $51,000, including a plow. And just to put it on the radar, the walk-in freezer at Memorial School may need to be replaced soon at the cost of about $20,000. So that will be coming.
That's Memorial.
Memorial.
Thank you, Gary.
And we adjourned.
Any questions on the financial report? All right, personnel.
So for personnel, first we voted on a new chair, which is me. Then we got an update on the technology director position. We don't currently have a new technology director right now. We were not able to find someone that fit our needs, so we heard a plan for covering those responsibilities since our former technology director moved on to a new position at a different district. So that plan involves including our former technology director, contracted, I believe, 8 hours a week. Is that right? 8 hours a week. And that's mostly monitoring servers, critical systems, and being available to help with items that come up. In addition, we have one of our technology specialists from an elementary school that has stepped up into a position of taking on some more responsibilities from the technology director position. And then the remainder of those responsibilities are currently being spread out amongst the administrative staff, which we recognize is not ideal. It adds more to their plate, but it's the best that we can do right now with the situation that we are currently in until we can find a technology director. The position is still open. We are still searching, but this still gives us an opportunity to try someone internally, see if they might be a good fit going forward to move into that position. Gives them the opportunity to test it out to see if that's something that they would want to move into permanently going forward. Let's see. And then also there are a couple other things that are helping with that. I guess there was some changes in the power school that's allowing us to take some additional responsibility off of people. It's freeing up some work. And then I think we have a new data technology, what's the name of the position? Data and information technology manager, who's been able to, put some stuff together to help out with flow of information and making things more accessible to our administrators. So those all are things that are helping with covering that position. Craig, is there anything else important there that I missed?
No, we just screened a significant number of applications, and I tried to highlight for you the concerns that we're having with them in the memo I sent you on the 29th, and that's infrastructure management, data security, network viability, server systems upkeep. That's the bowels of the system. That's what protects the district. That's what keeps the servers running. It keeps us functioning to a high degree, and so we believe this is covered. Megan Zenti is working for us 8 hours a week as needed, more if needed. If there's a problem, she'll work more. But she is keeping her eye on these highlighted items from the attachment I gave you. And what we're, so that's what our search is focusing on. I think at this point, there's a school of thought that we're advertising on the front page of our website, another Maid Sunday Telegram ad, LinkedIn, Indeed, all refreshed, but we think we need to put the advertisement on hiatus for a few months. Because what's happening is potential technology directors who may be in other districts may begin to question our seriousness in what we're looking for. And they're not gonna leave in October or November. So if someone in this latest push applies and they're really good, we'll hire them. But after this final push, I think we need to wait till January or February and really do a full court press, when the hiring season is. School people look for jobs in March and April. And I think that's likely to be where we end up.
So, in addition to that, we heard an update on the nursing staffing updates that we got a report on this evening. We also had a general staffing update. Some of the highlights of that, positives, as Sam mentioned earlier, we filled all the newly created positions, and we've been making some headway with our ed tech positions. Some of the negatives, obviously, we have several open positions that are still open. They're continuing open positions. We also heard and discussed the ad hoc committee for transportation, which came before you this evening. And then the last thing to note is we received the notice of intent for negotiation by the support staff bargaining unit. And that's it.
Great. Any thoughts or questions about that report? All right, curriculum.
Yeah, okay. Curriculum had their first meeting September 20th at the high school, and it's comprised of new members. I'm the only member from last year, so we have Fran, Sharon, and Penny. And first thing we did is vote on the chair. That's why I'm speaking right now. And since we have new members and it's the first of the year, we kind of spent the majority of the meeting going over the curriculum committee's purpose, policies, procedures, some of the jargon, trying to get up to speed on things, just so when we do have more deeper discussions of curriculum, we have a better basis of what we're working with. And then, so we spent a considerable amount of time with that, sort of got free-flowing, answering questions, asking questions of things. And then we went into the review the curriculum committee's calendar of work. And Chandra went through what we're planning to do. And then we had a kind of a freewheeling discussion about testing and NUIA and so forth. And that was about it. But it was a good baseline meeting to kind of get some comfort level with the terminology and the procedures and whatnot.
Great, thanks. Any questions about that? All right, and last, the policy committee, we heard some of those things, but what else did you guys get up to?
All right, similarly, we elected a chair, which is why I'm speaking, and actually, a little aside that I did preemptively, having been the chair last year, I did go along with Dr. King, Dr. Turner, Diane to the annual legislative update. Actually, recommend it very highly. It was fascinating. If you are curious how the Maine legislature and the laws impact our school districts in like what we can and cannot do, and then what we have to do. So they go through hundreds of bills. The lawyers prepared this for us. This has about 70 or 80 of them in it, and they ran through it. Like, why does this matter? What do you have to do? Had some nice questions and answers, and gave us some sample policies. So we have shuffled our calendar a little bit to accommodate some new policies, or revisiting some policies that we have that are now law, and a lot of these have already been enacted. So some samples are, there's some updates to seclusion and restraint, what you can do with kids to seclude and restrain them, what that looks like, and the Drummond Woodsum also provides us with really excellent sample policies, particularly on these sticky ones of, you know, this really is what you need to do. So we'll be seeing things like that. There was a couple of big ones, some things on the horizon around the paid family leave. So not only things that affect students, but things that affect our district as an employer. A lot of still unanswered questions on that. So some things were kind of a like, keep your eye on this ball, but you know, more information to come. So that was an actually pretty interesting day, as it can be, listening to 10 lawyers talk nonstop for 6 hours. They kept it moving. So in our, in committee, we looked at the 2 policies we've already discussed tonight, so I won't belabor those. Ahead, we do have public participation in board meetings, BEDH. We're actually having that come back for our second reading because we did change a lot, combining what we had in the sample policy. There's things we really liked about our policy that we thought were more robust, and things that were nice about the sample policy. So if folks have input on that, I'd encourage you to look in our materials in our folder, or consider attending one of our meetings. And I think that is about it.
Thank you, Penny. Is this book available to share?
This is mine. I'm partial to it, but I'm happy to lend it out for anyone who wants to fall asleep quickly. I'm happy to pass it around if it comes back.
Thank you. All right, any questions about the policy update? All right, seeing none, let's move into the school board chair report. I don't have a lot to report other than I did get a chance to go to many of the homecoming festivities. Huge shout out to the boosters who just are doing an amazing job with the Snack Shack. They have this cool new order form, and they're just cranking out new servings. They had apple crisp at the football game. That was delicious. And just would really just encourage people to come out. I was a little disappointed in the attendance at the parade and at the football game. I would have loved to see some more community members out there. I think the kids are working really hard, and we should get out there and encourage them as we can. If you haven't had a chance to see the homecoming parade, I mean, it is like the most wholesome middle America stuff I've ever seen in my life. They act out little skits and cheer and hold banners, and the band plays, and it's It just warms my heart every time I see it. And if people have not had a chance to see it, it's always on the Saturday of homecoming at 11 a.m. right at the middle school and high school. Very much encourage people to get out there. You know, if you're watching at home and thinking, oh, you know, I don't have any kids in the school, they don't want me there, we 100% want you there. Homecoming is absolutely an opportunity for anybody in Gray New Gloucester to come out and see. Hopefully you see what I see, which is just the amazing product of our school district, which is these kids who just do incredible work, and actually one of the most entertaining football games I've watched in a while. I went into double overtime, and we lost on an extra point that Camden was able to convert that we were not. So we did lose, but I think that was my first double overtime high school football game. So it was a really good time. I encourage people to come out and see it. It's just really the best of our district on display. So that's all I have to report. Go ahead, Craig.
New hires, Angeline Marcotte, Ed Tech 2 at the high school. Darlene Michalik, interpreter, intervener at the high school. Mary Lou Chambers, one-on-one nurse. Resignations, William Duffus, bus driver, transportation. Angela Graff, school nurse, high school. Transfers, Holly Hayes is transferring from an Ed Tech 2, functional life skills, to Memorial, to an Ed Tech 2 self-contained position at the Russell School. Just an addendum to the staffing report. In addition to the people that I just listed, or the positions that I just listed, since you've received the electronic update of our posted positions, we've hired 2 ed techs since then, and we have a custodian who's going to do paperwork, so we're filling these positions.
Great. All right, without further ado then, I would hear a motion to go into executive session to close out this meeting.
I move we go into executive session for labor contract discussions as per 1 MRSA 4056D, if possible.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All right, all in favor? We'll give 3 minutes for collection of nameplates, and then we will charge into this executive session. Please remember that when we are in executive session, we do not talk about anything other than the subject of the executive session.
I wonder what it's about.
Okay, we are now out of executive session. And I would hear a motion to appoint Jason Hart, Cole Chandler, Lauren Meek, Sam Feifel, and Adam Kopp to the negotiation team to enter into negotiations with the support staff union.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion of that? All right, all in favor? All right, wonderful. Thanks, everybody, for a great meeting. I would hear a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Huzzah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.